Hello, my name is Daniel. Thank you for joining. I appreciate you, your time, and your support. In today's video, I want to share with you how I am going to go about removing this piece of Sanoderm right here on these fresh tattoos. If you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment below. I'll do my best to assist in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell, as I am going to be bringing more videos like this. Now, when it comes to removing Sanoderm, for those who have ever removed Sanoderm second skin, any sort of protective barrier film over our fresh tattoos would know that it does kind of hurt. I don't really think there's a way around that sort of pain, but there are ways to ease it. Now, there are a couple of ways that we can also approach removing a piece of second skin, whether it's Sanoderm, second skin, whatever the film may be. I feel this approach would apply to any one of these films here. For this method, I will be sharing with you a dry approach. So you can see I have some markings here from a video that I did. I'm going to start by removing the corner right here. I'm going to get a little bit of bactine and I'm going to spray under the film. And then from there, I'm going to essentially kind of work it into this film right here. This is just to help lift it a little bit. From the rest of the way on out, I'm just going to dry remove it by just simply slowly pulling it on up, as you see me doing here. Now, as you can see, this method can cause some pain because it's literally pulling on the skin. I do this in a slow motion, as you can see, and then when I am done, I spray my bactine on there to kind of cleanse and clean the tattoo. Two things. The reason why I chose to dry remove it like this is because I feel these markings are on the smaller and the pain was a bit more manageable. Another thing is you can see the difference between the area that has been cleansed, which is on the left side, versus the area that hasn't been cleansed, which has a sort of faded appearance. You are going to see right now though, once I spray the entire tattoo and kind of cleanse and wipe it down and clean it up, everything has a nice solid saturated look to it. But those are a couple of variables to consider. We can either dry remove it or we can choose to kind of wet it under the film as best we can and then remove it like that. I feel like those are really the only two methods that we do have available to us. For those who are wondering, I have tried both a good amount of times and I've never had any issues with either or, the dry or wet approach. And no, the ink has never been pulled out when I am dry removing or wet removing any sort of protective barrier film. The ink has always stayed deposited into the skin. If the tattoo is applied correctly, we shouldn't experience any sort of ink loss or ink coming out and sticking to the film upon removing. Once it's in the skin, it's in the skin. I feel as long as it's applied correctly. If ink is going to fall out, it'd probably be during the healing process after the removal of the film, not during the removal of the film. I really do feel that the wet removal process and the dry removal process do both have their place in the removal process. So what that means is, let's say for example, we're removing Sanoderm or a second skin film in an area that's a little bit more sensitive and we can't really bear the pain, we're experiencing a lot of pain upon removal, then we may want to have the wet approach where we have it under running water so that we can kind of help ease the pain upon removal. Let's say we aren't necessarily in an environment where we can have running water, whether it's the clothes we're wearing or just the environment we are in, then the dry removal process may be a more efficient and effective way to go. It's really going to be on a per client basis and to each their own. Every client should be treated a little bit differently and always have your client's best interest at heart. Here's another good example of dry removal, or kind of dry removal. You're going to see that I do spray some bactine and work it in right here, but I do kind of feel like it was unnecessary because I'm just going to kind of pull it up anyway, dry the rest of the way. So you're going to see that I'm going to do a sort of clean sweep here. I don't like to be janky or yank it quickly or up. I yank it to the side, as you can see. So I'm avoiding pulling the skin straight up and I'm avoiding doing it too quickly. This right here is real time. I feel like this part right here is to not be overlooked when removing any sort of second film. When I'm doing it, I'm going to angle my removal, as you can see. So I am creating an angle and I'm pulling it off at an angle. I'm not pulling straight up, nor am I pulling fast. I'm trying to stay as consistent and slow as I can throughout the process. There are little jerks, but that's just the skin naturally removing itself from my skin, and therefore it kind of, has that sort of flow to it. So as you can see, I'm gripping so that way I can kind of get a good grip on it, and I'm going to slowly just keep removing it with the same angle. Never once do I pull straight up, nor do I pull fast. You want to avoid pulling fast. You also want to avoid pulling straight up. These are just my opinions. This is just how I do it. Kind of take what you want and leave what you don't. From here, I'll spray my cleanser, whether it be Bactine or a green soap and distilled water solution, clean up this tattoo, and then begin the healing process. I will make another full in-depth video on aftercare so that way I can talk more about that in another video. But for now, I want to stick to the removal of any sort of second skin film. As I've mentioned, the removal process is the same for pretty much every single tattoo. You'll notice here that this bead tattoo is a really tiny tattoo, so I didn't even spray any sort of solution to lift it up at the beginning as I did on the other tattoos. You can see here I'm just pulling at that angle that I mentioned a little while ago, and I'm doing that slowly. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of regroup here to get a better grip, and I'm going to keep this approach here. I never pull straight up and I never want to pull fast, and I feel this is how I go about avoiding any sort of unwanted trauma or damages to my tattoos. That right there is essentially how I go about removing any sort of second skin film that are on my fresh tattoos. It really is a tedious process, and I feel like it's worth having these second film on there, especially if we're working in open environments where our tattoos can be more prone to infection. This film definitely does come in handy, although the removal process always isn't desirable or something that we want to go through. I do feel like it makes for a far better healing experience, in my opinion, from my experience. That'll be it for this one. If you have any questions at all, I encourage you to drop a comment down below. I'll do my best to assist in the best possible direction. Please don't forget to subscribe and ring my bell before you go, as I will be bringing more videos like this for you. With that being said, I appreciate your time and I thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.